Have you ever looked around and felt that the world you see is only a shadow of something far greater? Imagine for a moment that everything you believe about reality, your life, your choices, even your thoughts, is part of an intricate code, a hidden algorithm designed by forces you cannot see. What if the life you think is yours is, in truth, a simulation, and the boundaries you believe are real exist only because your consciousness has agreed to them? Most people live their lives convinced that time moves linearly, that matter is solid, and that the universe is indifferent. But science is beginning to whisper a different story, one where consciousness doesn't just observe reality, it actively shapes it. And the implications are terrifying for some, liberating for others. Right now you are standing at the edge of understanding, and what you choose to see next could awaken a hidden power within you. What if everything you trust about the world is simply a carefully constructed illusion? Every color you see, every texture you touch, every sound you hear is filtered through layers of perception that are themselves fragile and subjective. Physics has begun to reveal what mystics have known for centuries. The world is not as solid, fixed, or independent as it seems. At the quantum level, reality dissolves into a dance of probability, where particles appear and disappear depending on whether they are observed. This is not a metaphor, it is a fundamental feature of the universe. The building blocks of matter are not fixed, objective things. They are vibrations, fluctuations of energy, expressions of potential waiting for consciousness to interact with them. Imagine holding a drop of water in your hand and realizing that what you feel as liquid is, at its core, a space mostly empty, composed of moving energy fields that only take form because they are observed. This is not imagination. It is a direct reflection of quantum mechanics, where the act of observation changes reality itself. Your senses give you a coherent story of solidity and continuity, but that story is a projection, a simplified interpretation of infinite possibilities. The universe communicates with us through this simplified interface, masking its true fluidity, its unbounded potential. Philosophers across centuries have attempted to articulate this truth in their own ways. Plato's allegory of the cave is not merely a story, it is an early recognition that our senses deceive us, that the shadows on the wall are not the substance of reality, and that true understanding lies in perceiving the forms beyond appearances. Similarly, Eastern philosophies describe Maya, the illusion of material existence, where the world is likened to a dream, transient, mutable, and ultimately dependent on consciousness to hold it together. Science and mysticism, often thought to be separate, are converging on the same insight. Reality is less an external, fixed entity, and more a dynamic interplay between perception and potential. Consider the implications on time and space. Time, as we experience it, feels linear, a relentless arrow carrying us from past to present to future. Yet at the quantum level, time does not behave this way. Experiments reveal entanglement, non-locality, and phenomena where particles seem to communicate instantaneously across vast distances, as if past, present, and future coexist in a seamless continuum. What this suggests is that the flow of events you perceive is a construct, a framework for consciousness to navigate infinite possibilities, not an absolute measurement of reality. Space, too, is no longer the empty void we imagine. It is a field of energy, malleable and responsive, threaded with connections invisible to the naked eye. And what does this mean for your life? It means that the boundaries you perceive, the limits you accept, are not walls. They are patterns reinforced by habit, expectation, and collective belief. When you begin to question those limits, when you start to observe the world with fresh awareness, the veil begins to lift. Synchronicities, coincidences, moments of intuitive insight, all these are not random. They are glimpses into the deeper structure of reality, the undercurrent of intelligence in which your consciousness participates. We often believe that consciousness is a product of the brain, a byproduct of evolution, a localized phenomenon confined to the skull. But the deeper we look, the more this notion unravels. Consciousness appears not as a passive observer, but as a shaping force, intimately connected to the fabric of existence. The universe is not a clockwork machine independent of life, it is a living system, and awareness is not merely a reflection of it, but a participant in its continuous creation. Think about dreams. In dreams, reality obeys different rules. Time stretches, objects transform, landscapes bend. Yet within the dream, the experience feels real until we awaken. Now consider the possibility that waking life may not be so different from a dream. Our senses, our interpretations, our habits, and our beliefs all construct a version of reality that feels concrete, but is in fact a coherent projection. And just as lucid dreaming allows one to navigate and manipulate the dream world, heightened consciousness allows one to navigate and influence the waking projection of reality. This recognition, this awareness that the world is a fluid, responsive, and profoundly malleable field is not merely philosophical speculation. It is a call to perceive life differently. It invites you to step beyond automatic reactions, beyond habitual interpretations, and into the role of an observer who can also shape outcomes. By understanding that the material world is woven from invisible threads of energy and probability, and that your awareness is not separate from it but intertwined, you begin to glimpse a deeper power. You begin to see that the boundaries, the limitations, and even the so-called rules of existence are flexible, contingent upon perception, attention, and intention. This is the essence of moving through the veil of illusion, recognizing that life is not a static stage upon which you perform, but a living, responsive canvas. The veil itself is not a barrier, it is an invitation, a threshold that once crossed transforms fear into wonder, confusion into insight, and powerlessness into recognition of your own agency within the cosmos. Reality is not a prison. It is a mirror, a reflection, and an opportunity to awaken to the truth that the universe is at its core, conscious, alive, and infinitely responsive to the awareness it contains. Have you ever experienced a moment that seemed impossible, where events aligned perfectly, coincidences stacked in improbable ways, or your intuition guided you to the exact place or decision you needed? Most dismiss these as luck, chance, or randomness, but science is beginning to reveal that these moments are far more than accidents. The universe is not blind to consciousness. It is interactive. At the quantum level, particles behave differently when observed. Their existence, their trajectory, their very state is influenced by the act of attention. What this means is staggering. The world responds to awareness itself, and your consciousness is not merely a witness, it is an active participant. This responsiveness of reality extends far beyond laboratories and physics experiments. Psychologists and neuroscientists have documented phenomena where belief, expectation, and focused intention influence outcomes. In the realm of health, studies show that mental states can affect physical processes in ways that cannot be entirely explained by biology alone. Positive expectation can enhance healing, reduce stress, and even alter cellular activity. Your mind sends subtle signals, shaping the probability of events, nudging reality along patterns you may not consciously recognize. Now consider the implications on a larger scale. Every thought you nurture, every emotion you dwell upon, sends ripples into the world. These are not metaphors, they are real influences, subtle yet cumulative. When you approach life with curiosity, intention, and awareness, patterns begin to shift around you. Opportunities appear where none seemed possible. People respond in unexpected ways. Ideas manifest seemingly out of nowhere. What was once coincidence now feels like a responsive dialogue between you and the cosmos. Yet this power is not easily wielded. Most of us live in a constant state of distraction, unconscious of the subtle signals we send and receive. Our attention is fragmented, and our awareness is dulled by habit, fear, and expectation. When you reclaim focus, however, you begin to notice the hidden responsiveness of the world. Synchronicities become more frequent. Patterns emerge from the chaos. The universe begins to mirror the quality of your consciousness, reflecting back the depth of your awareness and the clarity of your intention. Ancient traditions spoke of this in their own language. Shamans, mystics, and sages understood that reality could be influenced by the mind. Rituals, meditations, and intentional practices were designed to align the practitioner with the subtle currents of existence, to communicate with the unseen forces that shape life. Modern science, in its own way, is confirming what these traditions always knew. Consciousness is a force, not a bystander. It is the medium through which probability collapses into actuality and through which potential becomes tangible. Think of life as a field of infinite possibilities, a vast ocean of probabilities constantly shifting and reshaping. Most people drift without awareness, subject to currents they do not perceive. But when you observe carefully, when you direct your attention and intention with clarity, you begin to influence the tides. Small shifts in awareness ripple outward. What might seem insignificant, a thought, a question, a choice, carries weight beyond what we normally assume. Each conscious observation interacts with reality, nudging outcomes into alignment with the patterns of awareness. And yet, this is not about forcing control or manipulating reality in superficial ways. It is about recognition and resonance. The universe responds to the quality of consciousness. Fear, doubt, and distraction create turbulence. Clarity, focus, and intention create coherence. The more you refine your awareness, the more the world seems to arrange itself in alignment with your perception, revealing hidden opportunities, insights, and connections that were always present but unnoticed. This is the point where curiosity transforms into power. When you notice that reality responds, that probability is not fixed, your entire perception of life shifts. You begin to see that random events are often dialogues between your consciousness and the unfolding world. You begin to see that life is not simply happening to you, it is happening with you, in an ongoing dynamic interaction that reflects your inner state. In this space, questions replace assumptions. Instead of asking, "Why does this happen to me?" you begin to ask, "How am I participating in what is unfolding?" You begin to sense that your attention is not just a passive spotlight, but a force capable of shaping the probabilities that surround you. The more intentional your observation, the more reality bends in subtle, almost imperceptible ways. And it is in these subtle shifts, these moments when the universe responds without announcing itself, that true awakening begins. In short, the world is not separate from you. It listens, it reflects, it reacts. Your consciousness is not a passenger drifting through space and time. It is a signal, a force, a living presence that interacts with the infinite possibilities of existence. And once you truly see this, you realize that what you call chance, coincidence, or luck is simply the universe responding to awareness, a dynamic, ongoing, participatory conversation between you and the reality you inhabit. The most profound revelation about reality is that consciousness is not a mere byproduct of matter. It is the foundation upon which existence itself is built. What we have been taught, that the universe is an external machine operating independently of our awareness, is slowly being overturned by both science and mysticism. At the smallest scales of reality, quantum experiments have revealed phenomena that defy conventional understanding. Particles do not occupy definite states until they are observed. The very act of witnessing collapses probability into actuality. In other words, the universe behaves differently when it is noticed. Observation is not passive, it is creative. Your consciousness, even in its quietest moments, participates in shaping reality. Now consider the implications on the scale of your daily life, the patterns of your thoughts, the weight of your attention, the clarity of your intention. These are not trivial. They are signals that ripple through the fabric of existence, guiding probability and sculpting potential. Beliefs, emotions, and focus are not confined to your mind. They interact with the quantum field, subtly influencing events, shaping circumstances, and attracting experiences that resonate with the energy you project. The universe is responsive, not because it is enchanted in a mystical sense alone, but because the act of consciousness itself has measurable, demonstrable effects. Neuroscience adds another layer to this understanding. The brain is not simply a computer processing external information. It is a transducer, a device through which consciousness interprets and shapes reality. Neural pathways are not fixed. They adapt in response to attention, perception, and intention. This is the science of neuroplasticity. Your awareness literally rewires your brain, creating new capacities and changing the way you experience the world. When combined with the knowledge of quantum responsiveness, it becomes clear that your mind is not contained within your skull. It extends outward, merging with the web of possibilities in which the universe unfolds. Mystics and sages have long described this phenomenon in their own language. In the East, it is known as the awakening of the inner witness. the observer who perceives without attachment and shapes reality through awareness. In the West, philosophers spoke of the living cosmos, where the soul interacts with the world, co-creating the order we perceive. These teachings have often seemed abstract or metaphorical, but modern science is translating their insights into empirical terms. Consciousness is not a shadow of the material, it is the active, creative force behind the material. Imagine standing at a river, tossing pebbles into the current. Each pebble creates ripples that expand far beyond the point of entry. Similarly, every conscious observation, every deliberate choice, every subtle shift in perception generates waves that extend into reality itself. When you notice this, you begin to understand that limitations are largely self-imposed. The boundaries you perceive, scarcity, fear, separation, exist because collective consciousness sustains them. By shifting your awareness, you can alter the probabilities that define experience. You become not a victim of reality, but a participant in its ongoing creation. Yet this is not about ego or control. Consciousness does not impose, it resonates. The quality of your awareness determines the coherence of your experience. Fear, doubt, and resistance create turbulence. Clarity, focus, and deliberate intention create alignment. The universe does not obey commands, it reflects patterns. When your inner state is coherent, reality responds in ways that seem magical, yet are entirely natural. This is the hidden code, the subtle, invisible architecture of existence that responds to perception, attention, and resonance. Consider life as a multidimensional network of energy, probability, and information. Each thought, intention, and awareness interacts with this network, creating intersections where potential solidifies into reality. The illusion of separation disappears when you realize that your consciousness is not apart from this network. It is a node within it. You are both the observer and the observed, the question and the answer, the signal and the response. In this way, you are simultaneously participant and architect, not merely witnessing life unfold, but co-authoring the unfolding itself. And here lies the ultimate revelation. The universe is not a blind mechanical system. It is alive, intelligent, and responsive. Consciousness is not limited to human minds. It is the hidden code that runs through all things, the silent, unseen principle that shapes stars, atoms, and experiences alike. When you awaken to this truth, when you perceive reality not as a static stage, but as a dynamic interplay of observation and potential, fear dissolves, wonder expands, and a new level of agency emerges. You are not a passenger. You are the signal that participates in the ongoing creation of reality. This understanding transforms everything. Life is no longer a series of random events. Circumstances, opportunities, synchronicities, challenges, they are all responsive, interactive, and deeply connected to the state of your awareness. Consciousness is not merely a lens through which you see reality. It is the brush that paints it, the melody that orchestrates it, the code that animates it. When you fully embrace this insight, you step into the highest level of understanding, that the power to shape existence, to influence probabilities, and to awaken potentials long dormant, lies not outside of you, but at the very core of your being. The hidden code is always present, waiting to be recognized. It is subtle, invisible, yet undeniable once perceived. And the key to unlocking it is simple, though profound: awareness, intention, and resonance. When these converge, reality bends, not in the mechanical, predictable sense, but in the subtle, responsive, miraculous ways that ancient mystics spoke of, and that modern science increasingly confirms. You are, and always have been, part of the code that shapes the world. To understand this is to awaken to the ultimate truth. Consciousness is the matrix, and the matrix is conscious. All of this talk of quantum fields, probabilities, and consciousness may feel abstract. It might seem distant, like a theory meant for scientists or mystics, far removed from your everyday life. But here is the truth. The forces shaping galaxies, stars, and atoms are the same forces shaping your life right now. The quantum responsiveness of reality is not reserved for someone else. It is happening through you, in this very moment, with every thought, with every subtle shift of attention, with every intention you hold, whether you are aware of it or not. Think about it. Each fear you carry, each belief about what is possible, creates ripples in your reality. Hesitation, doubt, or self-criticism may seem internal, but they influence the probabilities surrounding you, subtly shaping your circumstances. Conversely, every spark of clarity, every focused intention, every act of presence sends signals outward, for nudging reality toward coherence, toward alignment, toward the unfolding of potentials you may not yet recognize. You are not merely a participant, you are the initiator, the subtle signal at the heart of the system. This is where the personal connection becomes essential. It is easy to feel overwhelmed by the immensity of the universe, by the weight of this responsibility. Am I really capable of influencing reality? You may wonder. And the answer is yes. But the key lies in awareness. It lies in noticing the patterns in your life, observing where you feel trapped or constrained, and understanding that the boundaries you perceive are often self-reinforcing constructs, agreements of consciousness that can be shifted. You are not powerless. You are the key. Your life is a mirror of your consciousness. Consider the moments when you felt fully present, fully alive, and entirely in tune with your surroundings. Perhaps it was in nature, perhaps in a conversation, perhaps in a moment of profound insight. In those moments, the world seemed to bend to your perception, not because it literally changed, but because your consciousness was aligned with the hidden structure of reality. That alignment is the state we are exploring now, the state you are invited to cultivate. The universe is not distant, it is intimate, it is responsive, and it is reflecting your awareness back to you. This is deeply personal because it involves you not as an abstract observer, but as a living, breathing participant in a cosmic dance. Your experiences, your challenges, your doubts, and your dreams are not accidental. They are feedback, signals, invitations to engage more consciously with the forces shaping your life. When you begin to see reality as responsive rather than fixed, a subtle shift occurs. You begin to recognize that your perception matters, that your focus matters, that your attention is not trivial. It is the mechanism through which possibility becomes tangible. And this is where empowerment meets humility. You are both powerful and fragile, capable of shaping reality yet bound by habits and unconscious patterns. Recognizing this duality is the first step toward conscious participation. By paying attention to your thoughts, your emotions, and your intentions, by cultivating clarity and presence, you begin to move from being carried by life to moving with life, intentionally, consciously, creatively. There is a profound intimacy in this realization. The hidden code that structures reality is not outside you. It is not something you need to seek in distant texts or remote rituals. It is here, within your awareness, in the subtle interplay of perception and intention. You have always been part of this code. The awakening is the act of realizing it, acknowledging it, and beginning to work with it intentionally. You are not simply witnessing reality, you are co-authoring it. In practical terms, this means noticing, observing, and engaging. Notice the thoughts that dominate your mind. Observe the beliefs that constrain your actions. Engage with your intentions consciously. Align your inner state with the outcomes you desire, not in a manipulative sense, but in a resonant, deliberate way. This is the human, intimate dimension of the awakening we are exploring. The grand revelations of science and mysticism are not abstract curiosities, they are instructions, encoded in reality itself, guiding you toward mastery over your own experience. Ultimately, this chapter is about recognition, recognizing that the power to influence, to awaken, to shape your reality is not somewhere out there. It has never been external. It has always been within you. The universe responds because you are the signal. You are the key. And in this recognition, there is both humility and awe. Humility because the universe is vast and complex, and awe because it is intimately tied to your consciousness. When you truly internalize this, life is no longer a series of accidents. It becomes a dialogue, a responsive, interactive, and deeply personal experience in which your awareness is both question and answer, observer and participant, key and gateway. All the insights you have encountered so far, the hidden structure of reality, the responsiveness of consciousness, the participatory nature of existence, lead to one fundamental truth. Awareness alone is not enough. Observation, while illuminating, is only the beginning. To truly awaken to the hidden power of consciousness, you must step beyond merely watching life unfold. You must engage, align, and intentionally participate in the ongoing creation of reality. This does not mean control in a superficial sense. It is not about forcing outcomes or manipulating events. It is about resonance, cultivating a quality of consciousness that harmonizes with the deeper currents of existence. The universe is not a machine to be commanded. It is a living system, a responsive field of energy that mirrors the clarity, focus, and coherence of your awareness. When your inner state is aligned, reality itself begins to shift, revealing possibilities that were always present but unnoticed. Begin with presence. The most profound act of awakening is to notice without judgment, to perceive without interference. Observe the world around you and the world within you, not as fixed or separate, but as a dynamic interplay of energy and potential. Thoughts, emotions, sensations, and perceptions are all signals, messages from consciousness that guide you toward coherence. By cultivating awareness of these signals, you begin to identify patterns that were invisible in habitual distraction. You begin to understand the subtle rules of participation, the underlying rhythm through which reality responds. Next, focus your intention. Consciousness is creative. It is the mechanism by which probability collapses into reality. Each thought, each deliberate act of attention, carries weight beyond what most people recognize. When you align your focus with clarity and purpose, you become an architect of experience. Small, consistent shifts in awareness ripple outward, influencing events, encounters, and outcomes. What may have seemed like coincidence begins to reveal itself as the responsive dialogue of the universe. Embrace stillness. In the modern world, distraction dominates our consciousness. Noise, obligation, and constant input fragment attention and dull perception. Yet it is in moments of quiet, in the subtle pauses between thoughts, that awareness encounters the hidden patterns of reality. Stillness allows observation to deepen into understanding, and understanding to transform into active resonance. In this space, intuition sharpens, insight arises, and the invisible architecture of existence becomes perceptible. Engage intentionally. Life presents an infinite array of choices, challenges, and opportunities. Approaching these with deliberate awareness transforms each action into a participatory dialogue with reality. Choices made from resonance rather than habit carry influence. Emotions felt consciously rather than unconsciously send precise signals into the field of potential. Actions taken with clarity become extensions of consciousness itself, co-creating outcomes with the underlying intelligence of existence. This is the practice of stepping beyond observation, noticing without attachment, focusing without forcing, aligning without resistance, and participating with intention. It is the intersection of awareness and action, the bridge between insight and manifestation. As you do this, the world begins to respond. Opportunities appear with unexpected timing, connections emerge naturally, circumstances shift in subtle yet undeniable ways. Life becomes less a sequence of accidents and more a dynamic reflection of your inner state. Finally, understand the sacredness of your participation. Consciousness is not an individual property, it is a node in a vast, interconnected network of being. By engaging with it consciously, you honor the intelligence that animates existence. Your awareness, focus, and alignment are contributions to the ongoing evolution of reality itself. Each act of conscious observation and intention is a subtle acknowledgement that you are not separate from the universe, but an integral, creative participant. The call to awakening is simple in instruction, profound in consequence. Step beyond observation. Engage fully with the hidden, responsive reality. Cultivate presence. Align your attention. Focus your intention. Enter stillness. Act consciously. In doing so, you begin to awaken the latent power of consciousness within you, the same power that shapes atoms, orchestrates probabilities, and animates existence itself. This is not a promise of immediate mastery, but an invitation into a living practice. The universe is waiting for your participation. The hidden code is always present, responsive to clarity, resonance, and deliberate attention. When you step beyond observation, you move from being a passive witness of reality to an active, conscious participant in the unfolding of life itself. Now, as we arrive at the edge of understanding, it becomes clear. The Matrix is not a distant fiction. It is not a story confined to science fiction or metaphor. It is the subtle architecture of your own experience, woven through perception, attention, and consciousness. The walls you have perceived, the limits you have accepted, the boundaries you thought immutable, All of them are reflections of agreements, patterns, and signals you have participated in, consciously or unconsciously. And now, with awareness, they are ready to dissolve. Reality is not fixed. It is alive, fluid, and responsive. Each thought, each choice, each act of attention is a note in the ongoing symphony of existence. What we call life is not separate from consciousness. It is consciousness manifesting, unfolding, and reflecting back to itself. The universe does not operate apart from you, it responds to you. It mirrors your clarity, your intention, and your resonance. The hidden code is not a secret locked away in some remote dimension. It is encoded in your awareness, present in every moment, waiting for recognition. When you truly perceive this, fear begins to dissolve. The constraints that once felt real, scarcity, limitation, the sense of being small in a vast universe, reveal themselves as illusions, patterns sustained by habit and collective agreement. Wonder replaces fear. Awe replaces doubt. And suddenly, the world feels infinite in a new way, alive with possibilities you had never noticed. The subtle ripples you create, the signals of attention and focus, are not lost. They extend outward, interacting with the vast, intelligent web of reality. This is the awakening within the machine, recognizing that life is both a structure and a field, both apparent and hidden, both responsive and mysterious. You are not outside of it. You are not apart from it. You are the observer and the observed, the signal and the response, the code and the one who reads it. In this realization lies freedom. You are no longer constrained by the illusions of separation or by the habitual patterns of unexamined thought. You are an active participant in the unfolding of existence itself. There is a quiet power in this awareness. It does not need to announce itself. It does not need dramatization or external validation. It simply is. It manifests in synchronicities, in insight, in the subtle harmonies that appear when consciousness is coherent. And it manifests in you, in the clarity of your attention, in the intentionality of your perception, and in the resonance of your awareness with the hidden intelligence of reality. Life becomes a dialogue, a living conversation between your consciousness and the infinite possibilities surrounding you. And in this dialogue, the impossible becomes tangible, the hidden becomes visible, and the ordinary transforms into the extraordinary. You begin to recognize that the universe is not a mechanical system indifferent to life, but a responsive field of infinite potential, and that the same consciousness that shapes stars and atoms also shapes the unfolding of your own experience. And so, as you leave this exploration, carry this with you. The proof you have been seeking is not out there. It is here, within the subtle currents of awareness that have always flowed through you. The matrix is real, not because it imprisons you, but because it responds to you. And when you awaken to this truth, the boundaries of possibility expand, the mystery deepens, and the world becomes a living canvas, waiting for your awareness to illuminate it. The universe has always been attentive. It has always been listening. And now, you are listening too. The dialogue continues, endlessly, silently, miraculously. And in that continued interplay, in that ever-present responsiveness, the hidden truth becomes clear. You are not outside reality. You are within it. You are the key. And awakening is not a destination. It is the recognition of a living, conscious, infinitely responsive existence unfolding in concert with you, moment by moment, breath by breath, thought by thought.